Thank you for joining us on Africa 24 for this edition of your program Décryptage. On the sidelines of the Africa Finance Corporation Infrastructure Solutions Summit held in Abuja, Nigeria on May 12, 2022, we will be receiving Mr. Samaila Zubairu, President and Chief Executive Officer of Africa Finance Corporation. During this program, he will throw more light on the questions of infrastructure development and access to finance in Africa and the role of his institution in enhancing these domains. Thank you, Mr. CEO, for joining us on Africa 24. You are the President and Chief Executive Officer of Africa Finance Corporation, a Pan-African multilateral development financial institution established in 2007. Tell us, how is your institution supporting industrialization in Africa through infrastructural development at a time when the continent is working to boost local value chains so as to strengthen wealth creation and limit imports, thereby reducing debt vulnerabilities?
Thank you very much for that question. That question you asked is at the core of what AFC stands for. So the whole idea behind AFC is to provide infrastructure that will catalyze industrial growth. So for us, we see the link, which is why we have the ecosystem investing approach, where we're looking at integrated value chains. There we're looking at, for example, from the forest to finished products and all that's required in between. We're looking at from a mine to intermediate product or primary product for now, but we think over time Africa needs to increase the value capture so that we go from primary products to intermediate products.
What major progress has been made since the AFC's last Infrastructure Solutions Summit in 2017?
Lots of progress. The last time we had an Infrastructure Solutions Summit was in 2017. That was for our 10th anniversary. At that time, we were a $4 billion balance sheet. Today, $8.9 billion. We have deployed over $10 billion. At that time, we were probably 16, 17 member countries. Today, we're 34 member countries. We have invested across 34 African states. We have done several Euro bonds. We have diversified our sources of funding. We have improved on our yield. We have done so much. So much has happened. And it's because of our approach of learning as we grow. Our key business model is around how can we provide solutions. And as we provide solutions, we learn from it and try to improve upon it as we go along. More importantly, our team has continued to sharpen its focus, sharpen its skills and capacity to deliver.
AFC's mission is to help address Africa's infrastructure development and to provide pragmatic solutions to the challenging operating environment. Can you tell us some of the projects that are on the way within your institution to address Africa's infrastructure deficit and help strengthen the continent's capacity to finance growth?
So we have financed a lot of energy projects. So one of our first projects was the wind farm in Cape Verde, which provides 20% of the energy requirements of the island. We did the first IPP in Ghana, over 300 megawatts of power. We're doing the first IPP in Djibouti, about 60 megawatts of power, wind farm. We're doing a hydro dam in Côte d'Ivoire, and that will help reduce the tariffs in the country. We're doing a gas-fired plant in Senegal that would also significantly reduce carbon emissions, SOx and NOx emissions, because it's going to replace power from coal-fired plants and HFO plants. More importantly, it's going to reduce the tariff in the country, because of the grade of fuel that is produced. And more significantly, Senegal has recently discovered oil, so it's going to use the natural gas from Senegal. In terms of ports and logistics, I mentioned our Gabon Special Economic Zone, where we started by building 3 ports. We built a general cargo port, we built a container port, we built a minerals port. All of these ports facilitate export. On the back of that, we created the Arise Ports and Logistics platform. That platform has grown into Mauritania, where we have also just completed a port. We are also looking at a port in Takoradi in Ghana, and we're looking at several pipeline of projects of ports in Nigeria. We have a port under construction in Côte d'Ivoire as well. So we have a pipeline of port projects, all to improve the infrastructure. We've also invested significantly in telecoms and technology, and we're continuing to find opportunities in that space.
Infrastructure is key to the development of a country. In Africa in recent years, we observe the will of governments to build roads, schools, hospitals, factories and many others to support the growth of their various countries, but the question of finance is a major setback. How can the issue of access to finance be addressed, and what finance strategies do you propose to help Africa meet her infrastructure needs?
We're focused on in this summit, and the things we do is how can we catalyze more flows from the private sector for investment in infrastructure. And our firm belief is that Africans must take ownership. So we must deploy African capital towards this purpose. So it will start by looking at it from, I would say, three perspectives. The first one is a lot of the challenge with attracting capital to Africa is around risk perception. Now, that risk is misplaced because the data suggests differently, but there are certain actions by governments that point to that fact. So one of the things we want to do, or we encourage, is that governments should honor their contracts and ensure that they don't cancel concession contracts, or they don't change the terms and they live up to terms. If that is done, that will significantly change the perception of instability and rule of law and stability of contracts in Africa. That will be a big step. And if we can achieve that, that's a good one. Then the second thing is that we must enable African institutions to take the lead. Once you have African institutions that have proved the way, as we have in AFC, they can mobilize global capital to support whatever they're doing. Now, there are certain pools of capital in Africa that are not yet working to the extent that they should be on the continent. So, for example, we have significant pension funds, we have significant insurance funds, and we need to find ways of mobilizing these funds to work for Africa.
Mr. Samaila, you took part in the AFC Infrastructure Solutions Summit 2022 in Abuja, an event during which the development of clean energy was a reference theme. What is the strategy of Africa Finance Corporation to support Africa's energy transition through the promotion of the use of renewable energy, which go a long way to reduce the effects of climate change?
So this is a very important question, and we're looking at it from multiple perspectives. So we're looking at it first from what does Africa need? You know, we have a massive energy deficit. Our per capita consumption for power is about 180 kilowatt per hour. In Europe, it's about 6,000 kilowatts per hour. In America, it's about 13,000 kilowatts per hour. So you can see that our energy intensity in Africa is very low. So what is important for us is how can we scale up in a way that we use this energy transition to also address our energy deficit. And our view is that focus on renewable energy to the extent that we can. So we have a lot of wind resources, we have a lot of solar resources, we have a lot of hydro resources. We should develop those. Hydro in particular, because that hydro gives you base load. But we also have significant natural gas that we should also develop and harness so that we can reduce the reliance of most Africans on firewood, which the world needs as carbon sinks.
In 2021, Africa Finance Corporation broke the $200 million profit mark for the first time in 15 years of existence. The institution's profits reached $209.7 million, an increase of 26.6% compared to the year 2020. Total assets equally increased by 16% to reach $8.56 billion. What accounts for this progress despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the commodity headwinds that impacted AFC's operating environment?
So, very simply, we have a very good team. We're very focused on execution, and we have a clear mandate, which is to provide solutions for infrastructure, deficit, and our challenging operating environment. So what that means is that we're always looking in the medium to long term. So projects that we start today, probably will not be funded in the main until 2.5, 3 years' time. So we have a specialist desk on project development, and that is the focus. So it allows us to have a steady pipeline. So even though there's volatility in the world, there's instability with COVID and co, we have a consistent pipeline of projects that we have been in preparation. We also have projects that are under construction that were delayed because of COVID and the lockdown, but continued after. More importantly, we also have perfected our risk management framework, in how we reduce the risks or manage the risk to assure the returns. So it's a combination of the good team we have, our approach to project development, the nature of our long-term, medium-term approach to investing, and the attractiveness of Africa as an investment destination.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, for honoring our invite. Thank you for following this interview. Stay tuned for more programs with us on Africa 24.